Welcome to episode 49 of the OLR Connections, the podcast of the Ohio Lodge of Research. Brother Chad Kopenski has a conversation with fellow podcaster Brother Samuel Wilburn of the Third Degree podcast. They discuss the origins of the Third Degree and how the format can be utilized to conduct research related to Masonic topics.
I mean, you all kind of came there different times, different reasons. Why the podcast? Like, what was the thing that made you say, "Yep, doing it"?
That's it. Well, it all started the way a lot of really good things start. I was really mad about something.
Okay.
We were at a meeting, and Right Worshipful Brother Todd Williams was there on a visit, and something happened. I don't remember what happened during the meeting, but something happened that just made my blood boil. But it was one of those things where I'm not going to say it because the district deputy's here. I'm not going to embarrass us. Todd later on told me, he's like, "You should have said it. I probably would have agreed with you." I was like, "Well, I just was not trying to start it. So I'm out. We have a little back balcony area, and I was out there. It's December. There's steam coming off of my body, and I'm just standing there. It's so cold. And Gabe comes out he goes, "You're pretty mad." And I was like, and I just laid into him because he was, if I remember correctly, he was the worshipful master at the time. And he goes, "That really sucks, man." He goes, "You have a lot of opinions. You really should start a podcast."
Okay.
And then I gave him some of my opinions after that. But then I went home and I kind of thought about it, and I was like, you think? And I called him, and then we were kind of like, "Well, what would you want this premise to be?" And I said, I don't want the show to be about my opinions, but I think we have something here with recording the histories of Masons, because not long before that, my great-grandfather was a member of Portage Lodge here in Northwest Ohio, and I didn't get to know the man very well. He died in 1998. I was 5 years old. And I stumbled across Masonry completely by accident. Had I not been a member of DMLA, I would have never joined. I wouldn't even know what it was.
Really? Like, not your great grandfather was the last one?
He was the last one. Well, his son, my grandfather was, but he kind of joined because Grandpa wanted him to, or at least I don't think he ever went to a meeting after he got raised. If he did, it was very selective. But when he found out I was a DMLA, he gave me all of Grandpa's stuff, all of great Grandpa's stuff, and I found dues cards for Scottish Rite, and he was a member of everything. He was Mr. Mason. I mean, he was kind of. But the problem is I don't know him. Everyone that knew him from his age is probably gone. And I just kind of wish I knew what he was like, or what his take on the fraternity was. And I think when we first started the show, our goal is to try and record that down, to get so the future generations don't have to have that problem.
Right.
And as time has gone on, we have kind of evolved that to encompass not only being able to write down the histories of our brothers and our, these guys whose histories would be lost otherwise, they would just be names on paper. We're now trying to find our own place in Freemasonry as young Masons of the craft, and I've only been a Mason for 10 years. It's nothing. I mean, in my head, I've just started. I'm still walking that line. And the same thing with Ryan and Gabe. And we're trying to figure out, because one day we might ask to be the right worshipfuls and these district officers, and who knows, even, next Grand Line officers. We need to start figuring out where our place is and what masonry means to us, and how we can start using it to better ourselves, and in the future what we can do to give back to it for teaching us those lessons.
I have to say that's one of the things that I really have appreciated about your podcast is that it has been that kind of exploration. It has been, and you sort of mentioned this. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, every Mason has to kind of figure out what Masonry means to them, and like what does this stuff actually mean, and how do I actually put it out into my own life? Um, and I think what's interesting is how you all. This is gonna come out wrong, but I don't care. I'm just gonna kind of say it. I think what's great is how you are doing it through this medium. I mean, in theory, right? In theory, you have mentors who have brought you into your lodge, right? Who are can talk to you, and like it's a very sort of personal, private kind of thing. But you all are sort of doing this semi-publicly, but you're doing it the right way, and that you're doing it together because you and Gabe and Ryan come from different viewpoints, different backgrounds, different. Uh, see if you're engaged. Gabe is married. Ryan, I think is Ryan still single?
No, he just got
He
married
just got
last
married.
year.
Okay.
Yep.
Um, and that changes things. So
Kids are another big one. Gabe's got Liam, and Ryan and I don't. So that's another fun one where we have to figure out where, what is now Gabe's abilities are now within a different length. And now we have to work around them together as brothers. And it's it it's definitely interesting. And it's I think it's great because we definitely bounce around. We're together so much as friends that what you hear on the microphone is 10% of what happens during a recording session.
oh yeah.
The rest of it is us going back and forth, and you're just laughing, and it's not suitable for microphone because you're all of a sudden, you wouldn't be able to understand it because we're just arguing back and forth. But as soon as we get on the mic and we kind of have to sit down and we have to cohesively think about what we're talking about, it really is interesting to see how differently everybody sees it. And I love it. I love talking about a topic. Like right now we're going over what does it mean to be a traveling man, and how differently that question alone means to me versus it meaning to Gabe, to Ryan. And then just the responses we get in from people about what they think it means. And it makes my brain go, I didn't think about it that way. Did you think about it that way? No, I didn't think about it that way. Crazy. So it opens up your eyes to something new.
Right. Let me just back up a second because, for the listeners at home, when you guys started, I mean, um, you had some different topics. I mean, you were looking at some different, um, you're looking at some different things. I think that came from an area of your own curiosity. Like I remember you had an episode about cartoons, and you had an episode about masonry in video games. And 1,000 years ago, I used to do a presentation about secret societies and popular culture. And I'm like, I know what these guys are talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
The And then it did probably, I think, towards the end of your first season is when you guys went to this idea of, yeah, you're going to kind of explore the big questions. This is the big question. What are the three of us? What's the question? And then how do we get towards an answer? Is that kind of what your process has
Absolutely.
been? Okay.
So we started off, I mean, you just like everything, you have an idea, you don't really know what you got an idea, and we just kind of were like, well, what would you want to listen to? What would you want to do? So we did the cartoons, we did video games, we interviewed anybody that we could beg to be on our show, and we are pretty blessed.
You got Charlie Murphy, you got Rick Crow, you
We
got Allred. Come on. So,
and even right works for Brother Todd Williams. I think that's one of my favorite interviews just because of learning something about a guy that shows up to your lodge and is the authority on the night of your inspection. I mean, he's the man. He could shut us down if he really wanted to. And to then find out that the man is an environmental lawyer who loves the planet and fights for and is willing to go toe to toe with these major corporations. It's so cool. I mean, I I learned a whole personal side to this man that I never probably would have seen. And stuff like
Yeah.
that really opened my eyes. But as we went on, we got to working with other podcasts in the country. Our friends, Time for Fellowship out in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I've talked to those guys. I haven't been on them, but like I've made contact with them. They seem nice. So
They are awesome dudes. We always joke they're like our twins that way.
that's funny.
I mean, their show is just like our. I mean, their personality. They got their big gruff biker and Andrew, who's hysterical. So, or even the guys out in um oh, my brain's
Kansas,
fogging.
Studio 357.
Yep, Studio 357. And after working with these guys, I sat there and I went, okay, we're doing everything right. We're doing the interviews, we're doing I just thought I was like, what can we do to break the mold? What can we do just a little bit differently that we enjoy doing that might really bring some value to our listeners? What can we what perspective can we take? And I remember sitting down and calling you actually and kind of throwing some ideas your way, and you said that sounds like a great idea. I was like, what if we came at this from a question, because none of us know the answers. We will never on our show claim to be the wise, the masters. We don't have the answers. I have an opinion. You can ask me all the opinions in the world, but I'm searching for the answers. And I think the hunt for those answers and figuring out what they mean to me is more important than finding them, maybe.
You're gonna
I
go
go
all
back and
Tolkien and
forth
say the
on it.
journey is far more important than the destination. You know, it's fine.
It
But
feels like it. If sometimes, I mean, the amount of work that goes into it, by the time it gets done and I can exhale, I'm like, that was a lot of fun. Let's do it again.
right. Well, I'm gonna back up here because you said a couple of things. I do remember our conversation, and it's one that um, it's one that I really enjoyed. I don't remember. Yeah, I think you guys posted something either on Reddit or in Facebook, and I'm like, oh, these guys are in Ohio. I should see all what they're up to. And um, it, I, I think what's interesting about podcasts, and just because getting to know Jim and some of the other guys, is that there are so many Masonic podcasts that are out there. There's just, I mean, and some last and some don't. It's this weird, it's this weird marketplace of ideas. And the ones that stick around are ones that kind of find their own voice, their own niche, like Robert Johnson with Whence Came You, like he does his thing. And that
Yep.
Robert's good at that. And Jim's got his thing. And they're different. They're different. They're not.
Say you're absolutely correct. It's the big ones, the ones that stick around, the ones that are really active, the ones that continuously put out good new things. Those are the ones that don't try to be somebody else. And that was kind of where we were at. I was like, we're interviewing guys, and I love that. I don't want to ever stop doing that. That's why we started doing it. I was like, well, what if we just changed it up a little bit? What if we were looking for the answer to a question and we incorporated that into the interviews and we did both? And it's been a hit. At least I think it's been a hit. I love listening to the interviews. I love having this question, and I absolutely love getting to the end of a series and having a keynote speaker to kind of wrap everything up. That's kind of my big shebang. We were very blessed when we started out this format to do Does Masonry Make Men Better? That was our first series, and we were very, very lucky to have Most Worshipful Brother Carter be our keynote speaker. It was 2 hours of just staring at the screen, having my mind blown. I mean, and I know you guys are really good friends. He's the man. He just like he talks, and your brain is just kind of.
The OLR started a podcast, I don't know, however long ago, and it was David Dougherty who said, I think what we really should do, Chad, is just have you talk to your friends and, kind of just see what happens. Like, all right. And he wanted me to start off with Bill Carter. Like, okay. Well, that was 3.5, 4 hours later and he and I just were talking, and it was,
Yeah.
and it's what Bill and he and I don't get to see each other that often, but when we do, so yeah. He said something very nice about me in your podcast, with your episode, which made me happy. So,
and I actually listened to I listened to all of the pieces of that interview that you guys had.
We were all over the place.
But it's okay. I was on the treadmill, just walking, like just following the train of thought, and I'm like, and I'm going back and forth. But I have ADD, so that's the perfect stuff. Going all over the place makes I can't stick on anything too long.
Well, and he and I both start looking at different connections. We're like, oh, there's this. So it's good. But what's interesting is, like, from the High Lodge of Research, for one of the things that a lot of things we talk about, and a lot of the things that we think about are like what qualifies as Masonic research. Because we all have kind of an idea of what that actually means. And then we talk about what are the barriers to entry? Like, what is it that prevents people from starting? And what interests me kind of the most about what you're currently doing is this. So, believe it or not, what I see in my brain, I'm thinking what you're doing is sort of a little bit like research, because you guys came up with a question. There's something that you want to know and you want to understand. Now, traditionally, right, you'd go to the books, right? Or you'd go to whatever primary sources. But you're almost doing, in a weird sort of way, you're almost doing like evidence-based research or I think it's evidence-based as much as it is sort of like reflecting on your own experience to kind of determine what those answers are. Does that
I'd agree with you. I have always said that I wanted to do, if we were going to do this show, I didn't want to sound like the guy that had all the answers. I'm not a know-it-all. At least I try not to be. So I have a lot of flaws. I'm the first one to admit a lot of this stuff I'm working with what I know. But I also do come from a background of science, and the scientific theory has always done very well in keeping me on the straight and narrow. And I always try to formulate our question as if it's a hypothesis, and then we're finding evidence to prove or disprove our hypothesis, and then at the end we figure out if we learned anything from it in our conclusion. And I think you can definitely tell from the beginning to the beginning is always us presenting the question and us giving our opinions on it, and the end is always us seeing whether or not we changed anything.
So those big questions, the first one was, does masonry make me a better man? Now it's, what does it mean to be a traveling man? What are some of the other questions you guys are thinking about as series, or is it still in development?
Still in development. It's kind of one of those things where I don't worry about it until we get about 3/4 of the way done, and I am confident that we are getting close. But I'm always open to suggestions. I mean, it opens up a whole avenue of possibilities, and I love giving the listeners. So, what does it mean to be a traveling man? That came from our surveys that we put out around Christmas time. People put in, how teach me how traveling. I'm new. talk about etiquette for going to other lodges. What is this?
That
What is, and
changes.
I'm like, these are all things that kind of are all under the same topic. I said, we have our topic. Let's go with it. So till I think of one I want, or the listeners give me something they want to hear, currently in development.
Yeah. I guess keep talking about your process. Let's talk about the first um, series you did. It was, does masonry make you a better man? Right.
Yes.
And that was the question you came up with. Talk to me about what it was that what was that kind of research, or what was that exploration that you did?
So for me, I try a lot of these questions that I come up with, I feel like are just a lot of things that we hear in passing. And I feel like we don't know what they, we say them, but do we know what they really mean? So masonry makes good men better. How? Why?
Yeah.
What is it? So I mean, we say it. It's our tagline. It's on all of our. I don't want to say marketing, but I mean, it's on all of our websites. It's on our stickers. It's on plaques. But what about it makes men better? Is it the degrees? Is it the brotherhood? Is it the being around people who can help you to achieve this? Is it having somebody to watch your back and tell you when you're not in bounds? These are all
Yes.
things that I kind of wanted to know. And the answer is yes to all of those. But what part of it can we prove? And how do we prove it? So I went about it, and I don't mind me real quick. I'm just looking up. I got to go
You're
back that
good.
far. And I'm happy to see I got to go back far enough that I can kind of see that see us start that. It's crazy. It's our Christmas special. Okay. Yeah, so we started off that question, and then we started our first one was with uh my co-host Gabe, his father. His father has only been in masonry for a couple of years, and to listen to his dad Dan Fawcett, speak
Mhm.
about what masonry has done for his life, changed his outlook, changed how he acts in public. It's amazing. And he said that the only reason that he joined was because his son joined and he saw what it did for him. I mean, that was
Okay.
almost in episode 1. We kind of proved my theory.
So this research that you're doing, I mean, it really is almost kind of empirical. It's what you are observing and trying to kind of make sense of talking to people who know more than you and trying to kind of get that to fit with, your worldview. But then you're also talking to your other two hosts. What are you noticing? What are you noticing as differences or similarities between your process and the other two guys?
So I do, I want to say maybe 70% of our prep work. Ryan and Gabe typically have zero clue what's coming at them the day we record. Uh, and they kind of like it that way. It keeps them on their toes, and you can definitely tell personality differences when it comes to talking about some of these topics. And I I think the best way I could put it, we just did a two-part series. We took a little break in between questions, and we just kind of, once again, we just hit topics that we wanted to do, stuff that was fun. Everybody's busy in the summer. Nobody wants to do anything serious in the summer. So one of them I've always wanted to do is George Washington and Ben
Ben
Franklin.
Franklin?
And we lightly covered over them, but then we discussed, what do we think? As Masons, were they good Masons? Were they bad Masons? Were they, you know, because George wasn't always super active, does that make him a bad Mason? Absolutely not. Because Brother Ben was at every Masonic function known to man, did that make him the best Mason? No, probably not. But I got to the end of it and I threw Gabe and Ryan for an absolute loop when I looked at him. I said, "So, this just goes to show you that the guy that's at every single one of your Masonic functions doesn't make him better than the guy who's only able to make it to a couple of things a year because he's out there doing big things. You can live Masonry in the lodge room, or you can live it, and you can live it in real life. Sometimes you gotta do one or the other. Sometimes we're all living Masonry on our own path. And Gabe's brain just popped. You could see it in
Why
front
is
of him. He
that?
goes, I can't believe you. Why is what?
Is Gabe the guy who's there at every function?
Yeah, no. And it's less of are we at every function or each one. It was just more of he wasn't expecting me to go that route, to that be my final message with things. That, we have guys at our lodge that I have never seen at a meeting, period.
Mm-hmm.
But if I see them out and about in town, they're the first one to walk over, shake my hand, ask me how I'm doing, call, I'm like, and they're pillars of our community. So, but they don't have time to come to meetings. I would like to see them. Every time I see them, I'd like to see you, but they don't make it. It is what it is. I respect it. But we also have guys that are at everything, but because they're at everything, what else are we doing? It was my opinion that we shouldn't judge each other based off of the ability that we have. Everybody's once again on their own Masonic journey. You don't know what that man does in his own spare time. He could be the most learned Mason that, reading all the books and doing everything. I would argue that, in my opinion, you should still be at a couple of meetings and maybe go attend a couple of educational events. But
sorry, this is good. We're gonna go off on a weird tangent here, but
you're good.
What are the books or podcasts or sources that that you look to or that are inspiring you at this particular point in time?
So right now, I have a pretty solid list of uh, podcasts that I listen to Masonically that are really good to me. I think they're very educational. I think that education is their point, and I feel like they don't hit you over the head with it. And I mean, a couple of them I've already mentioned is, if you're looking for a good show where you're going to pick up some really good education, but also you're going to get your, you're going to maybe see what it's like a piece of what being a Mason's like where in Wisconsin. The Time for Fellowship with Matt and Andrew, you can't beat it. The guys from Studio 357 or 357 Studio are just a hoot. They are, while they may not be the most refined bunch, and they'll say this themselves, they are so much fun to sit there and just, it's like talking to your buddy about the meaning of life at 2:00 in the morning around a campfire. It's just fun. And I for the tried and true, maybe not educationally, because I don't know if he does topics like that or not. I haven't seen any, but if you want to have an idea of kind of like what we do and kind of see maybe what the guy that's sitting next to you that you've never talked to, what his whole life is about, his Masonic career, and really about those interviews, you really cannot beat The Traveling Man with Jim Hall. You 100% cannot. Never heard of it. Never. Yeah. I love Jim's show. Jim was so cool getting us into it, and that's kind of what got me into his podcast. I'd never heard of his podcast before that. I really do enjoy. I've got a couple of books that I highly recommend if people have never checked them out before. I actually recommend these ones to. Don't mind me. I'm just pulling up my Kindle app because I have a physical copy downstairs, but I keep a digital copy for at lodge. It's ooh, where are you, buddy? I just read you. I just don't want to get the title wrong. It's Solomon's Builders. Chris Hodapp. It was the first Masonic book I read after I got my Entered Apprentice degree, and it was really nice to see. He kind of has a no-nonsense approach to things, and the fact, the fiction, and the myth. It's really nice to know, like, hey, this was kind of a cool story that we tell people, but it's probably not true. There's no historical evidence that that's accurate. Like, so just know that when you're telling people that, you're just telling a wives' tale. But overall, that I also have a copy of the Masonic Encyclopedia that was gifted to me by my DMLA advisor when I became education officer at Northern Light.
Which
So I still have.
Is it the Mackey, or is it that one, or which one?
I think it's the Mackey one. It's got a purple cover with a big square and compass on it. I flipped that thing open. It's got all kinds of just random blurbs about stuff in it. It was very useful to just kind of go, that's what I want to do tonight for my education program.
Yeah, there's the Mackey, which most people talk about. Okay. Mackey's great. I always, just because I'm a big fan of John Shearer, he did a monitor back in the 1850s, and where he explained some of the symbols of, and so he did, and he did it for the York Rite degrees as well as the Blue Lodge degrees, and it's one viewpoint, but yeah, his Gems of Masonry and his Masonic Ladder are from about the 1860s or so, and those are also good resources that I like. So, are there what's next for you guys? Like, I know that you have the podcast. You don't video yourselves, which is it so that you don't have to worry about editing video?
Yeah, it's we started with audio because it's the easiest way to start. It's the easiest barrier for entry. And always when we're doing these interviews, so like you and I are one-on-one, this is pretty easy to do over Zoom. And once you start doing 3 people with your guest, it gets so much harder. So I think for a while, at least, I think we're going to stick with audio. But the main plus side to being an audio only podcast, all of my equipment for my podcast fits in a suitcase that Ryan built. It's really cool. It's got cutouts. It all fits inside of it, the mics and a backpack. So what we used at Grand Lodge, that's our setup at all times.
Oh, that's funny.
So I can take it anywhere. We can just grab it, go, and we are completely mobile. If we're kind of looking forward to, once we get a free moment, we're planning on visiting some of the Prince Hall lodges in our area, and I'm looking forward to going and meeting these guys, but also in the same time sitting down and interviewing them. And it's awesome that I can do both. I don't have to pick one or the other.
You ever visited a Prince Hall lodge?
I have not. I'm really excited.
Best thing I can say is it's absolute phenomenal experience. Like I've been able to do that a few times, and it's different enough that you're like, this is different, but also you realize like, oh, this is like that. You feel welcome. You feel that you need to be there. So, I think we're probably at a good place to kind of wrap up. I think.
All right, buddy.
I'm interested to see what you guys come up with. I really am, because and I don't want to this is one of those things where there's things that I want to say, but I'm afraid if I say it, it's going to kind of color your journey going forward, and I don't want to do that.
Nope.
So, but yeah, thank you again. We'll talk soon. So thank you, sir.
Anytime, brother.
Talk to you later. Good night. Bye.